chaos of World War II, among tanks, soldiers, and the thunder of artillery, there was one unlikely hero who stood tall on two legs, covered not in camouflage, but in fur. He carried ammunition, wrestled with soldiers, drank beer, and became a symbol of hope for a displaced army. Welcome back to Across History. This is the unbelievable story of Wojtek, the bear who fought in World War II. The origin story. Our story begins in 1942 in the rugged mountains of Persia, modern-day Iran. A group of Polish soldiers, newly released from Soviet captivity, were traveling south toward the Middle East. These men were part of what would become the Anders Army, a unit formed from Polish prisoners of war after Germany invaded the Soviet Union in 1941. They had survived starvation, gulags, and forced marches. Many had lost families and homes. One day, while resting near the town of Hamadan, the soldiers met a young boy carrying a small bundle, a bear cub, orphaned after hunters had killed its mother. One of the soldiers, Irena Borkiewicz, an orphaned Polish refugee, took pity on the cub. She convinced her superiors to buy it, in exchange for a few cans of food, some chocolate, and a Swiss Army knife. They named him Wojtek, meaning joyful warrior in Polish. He was just a few months old, small enough to fit in a soldier's arms, and just hungry enough to eat everything in sight. Wojtek the soldier. At first, Wojtek was just a mascot, a bit of comfort for men far from home. But as he grew, he became more than that. He followed the troops everywhere. He learned to march on two legs, wrestle playfully with soldiers, and salute when offered a treat. Wojtek loved beer, smoked cigarettes, though usually ate them instead, and enjoyed stealing food from the camp kitchen. But make no mistake, this wasn't just a pet. The soldiers raised him like one of their own. When the unit officially joined the British 8th Army and moved to the Middle East, Wojtek went too. The bear grew rapidly, eventually weighing over 500 pounds and standing nearly 6 feet tall when upright. He rode in trucks with the men, slept in tents beside them, and even learned to open showers for himself. By 1943, the Polish II Corps was headed to the Italian front, joining the fight against Nazi Germany. But there was one problem. Animals weren't allowed on military transports. So the Polish soldiers did something ingenious. They enlisted Wojtek as a private in the army. He was given an official rank, serial number, and paybook. His job description? Transport soldier. And just like that, Private Wojtek the Bear was on his way to war. The Battle of MONTE Cassino. In early 1944, the Polish II Corps reached Italy. Their mission was to capture MONTE Cassino, a mountaintop monastery fortified by German troops, one of the most brutal battles of the war. The terrain was steep, the weather harsh, and the enemy well dug in. Supplies had to be carried up the mountainside by hand, hundreds of crates of artillery shells, mortar rounds, and food. That's where Wojtek stepped in. Seeing the soldiers struggle, Wojtek began doing what he saw them do. He lifted crates of artillery shells, each weighing over 100 pounds, and carried them from the supply trucks to the gun emplacements. He never dropped a single shell. The men worked beside him, inspired by the sight of their bear carrying ammunition through enemy fire. To protect him, they made sure the crates were empty of explosives when he was nearby, but Wojtek didn't know that. He thought he was doing his part. The sight of the bear on the front lines became legendary. Soldiers from other units couldn't believe their eyes, a bear helping to fight the war. After the battle, when the Polish II Corps captured MONTE Cassino, they decided to honor him. The unit officially adopted a new emblem, a drawing of a bear carrying an artillery shell. That emblem would remain the proud insignia of the 22nd Artillery Supply Company for the rest of the war. The war ends. When the war finally ended in 1945, Wojtek traveled with the Polish soldiers to Scotland, where the army was stationed during demobilization. He continued to live among them, sharing barracks, joining parades, and still enjoying his favorite beer. But as the soldiers were discharged, one by one, Wojtek's world began to change. Poland was now under Soviet control, and most of the men could never return home. They were exiles, and so, in a way, was Wojtek. Eventually, in 1947, the Polish army decided to give Wojtek a new home, the Edinburgh Zoo. It wasn't an easy goodbye. Soldiers visited often, tossing him cigarettes and bottles of beer, reminiscing about their days in battle. Visitors loved him, but for the men who had fought beside him, he was more than an attraction. He was a comrade. Wojtek lived in Edinburgh Zoo for the rest of his life, passing away in 1963 at the age of 21. Legacy of a soldier bear. Even decades later, Wojtek's story continues to inspire. In 2015, a statue of Wojtek and his handler was unveiled in Princes Street Gardens in Edinburgh. There's another one in Krakow, Poland, and yet another in London, reminding everyone who passes that sometimes courage comes in unexpected forms. For the Polish soldiers who fought beside him, Wojtek wasn't just a mascot, he was a brother in arms. His story captures something rare in the history of war: armament of humanity, friendship and hope in the darkest of times. From a tiny orphaned cub in the mountains of Persia to a decorated soldier at MONTE Casino, Wojtek's journey reminds us that even in war, bonds of loyalty and love can transcend species, ranks and nations. If you enjoyed this story of Wojtek, the soldier bear, make sure to like, subscribe and share this video with fellow history enthusiasts. And remember, history isn't just about battles and borders, it's about the extraordinary lives that shape our world. Thank you for watching Across History, and see you in the next video.